Okay, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the AMFAW Weekly Tuesday Chat. I am here with the Alabama Owens, and we are waiting on our friend Ted, who is having a little bit of technical difficulty. He's restarting his computer now, so he'll join us shortly. And like we always do, we're going to start off our chat with a Bible verse. Because this topic is going to be on preparedness and talking about different natural disasters, I was naturally tempted to talk about Noah, especially since the premiere was recently. But I figured that the more I thought about it, the more I kind of thought it leaned towards a different Bible verse that's not related to preparedness, but I just kind of want to share this with y'all. It's one of my favorite scriptures. So this is John 9, and I'm starting at verses 18, and you can pretty much understand the context by what I'm about to say. Okay, so the Jewish leaders still refused to believe the man had been blind and could now see. So they called in his parents. They asked them, "Is this your son? Was he born blind? If so, how can he now see?" His parents replied, "We know this is our son and that he was born blind, but we don't know how he can see or who healed him. Ask him. He is old enough to speak for himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders who had announced that anyone saying that Jesus was the Messiah would be expelled from the synagogue. That's why they said, "He's old enough. Ask him." So for the second time they called the man who had been blind and told him, "God should get the glory for this, because we know this man Jesus is a sinner." "I don't know whether he is a sinner," the man replied, "but I know this. I was blind, and now I can see." And I really like
Powerful.
that scripture. It's very powerful. Sometimes when I'm reading that, I choke up a little bit because it's so true to what the scriptures really talk about. Just
Yeah,
saying
definitely.
what you know, just giving your testimony.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I'm Budget Bug Out, and Alabama Owens, do you want to introduce yourself and talk
Sure.
about what your channel's about a little bit?
I'm the Alabama Owens. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about guns and gear and preparedness and prepping and really pretty much anything just that comes to my head that I think might be kind of interesting. I've got several gear reviews that I'm working on right now. Um, I'm kind of a flashlight geek, so I got a couple of. I've already done a few flashlights, and I've got a few more coming up. So anybody that's not interested in that, I apologize, but um, I enjoy them, so that's what I'm doing. Um, but big news on my channel right now. About 3 weeks ago, I hit 1,000 subs, and so in coordination with the AMFAW channel, have a huge giveaway going on. It'll be running through the end of the month. So be sure and check out any of the AMFAW administrators' channels to see that video and how to enter the giveaway. And that's about it for me.
Very cool. Yeah, you can you can check out any of our channels, and the link should be in the description box. The different channels, but yeah, we all posted that video. You did an excellent job coordinating with Ted, who hopefully you'll see shortly, on making that possible. So for me, I'm Budget Bug Out, as I said. I run a sort of a preparedness-minded YouTube channel, although my most well-known, or at least most watched videos have zombie apocalypse related. It's basically just a more interesting spin on being prepared, and I do some other preparedness kind of stuff as well. But in my off time, I help out with the Red Cross where I can. all disaster preparedness related. And I also I recently trained into becoming a weather spotter for the National Weather Service due to tornado season coming up. I wanted to be able to help out with that and to learn as well. So that was also kind of what inspired me to talk about these topics, the disaster-related topics, learning to help out with the Red Cross and being an instructor in a couple different preparedness courses, and also doing the weather stuff. Also, this week, I was, or I should say last week, I was told that I am now my unit, which is I'm also active duty Air Force. So my unit, they have to have a emergency management representative, and I am now the alternate. So there's a primary and then there's an alternate, and I'm the alternate. And the commander wants me to do a briefing for these upcoming tornado season that's coming up, and Alabama Owens, we're going to talk about that a little bit. But all this kind of stuff, and tornado season coming up, and just hurricane season coming up, and hopefully Ted will be on here to talk about that too. Just kind of made me think that this would be a good topic to share with y'all, and I'll probably be doing videos as well throughout the summer regarding this, and probably throughout the year, because there's winter preparedness as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about?
Well, being from North Alabama, we are considered the second tornado alley. So, we are coming up on, for North Alabama, the 40-year anniversary of the April 4th, 5th, and 6th tornadoes of 1974, which I was born during. But that was, for years, that was the huge tornadoes here in North Alabama and North Mississippi. And but then back in, I believe it was 2011, towards the end of April, we had a huge series of tornadoes that swept through North Alabama, Central Alabama, basically from the Alabama-Tennessee state line all the way down to just south of Birmingham, and just total devastation in some areas. And so it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and really the tornadoes of 2011 is what got me in the prepared mindset. We were a week without power. Grocery stores were shut down. Gas stations were shut down. There was nothing. We were under curfew. I didn't have a generator. We didn't have food storage. We had what was in the fridge, but without power, that goes bad in a day or two. Of course, most people probably have 3 to 5 days just in their cupboards, even if you don't realize it. It may not be stuff you particularly want to eat, but you can live off of it. But that was really my wake-up call, that it was time to start planning ahead, start trying to prepare. So, yes, definitely. And, we talked before we went live. I was looking up some stats, and the month of April, well, let me pull it up here on my phone. The month of April, the last 3-year average for the month of April was 350 tornadoes nationwide. Yeah. So that's a 3-year average. So that tells you we're coming up. We are in the middle of prime season here.
Yep. April is a big one. I'm in Tornado Alley over here in the Midwest. So we deal with tornadoes about around 50 in my area a year on average, and that average is slowly rising as well because of, I guess, the warming of the atmosphere or whatnot, which kind of helps create some of these things. But yeah, April is a big one, and then the couple months that follow that. Although tornadoes can appear pretty much any time, it's usually during those months statistically. But yeah, even whenever I lived in Florida, I was born in Florida, and it was actually during a hurricane. Yeah, and of course I grew up to be a prepper.
Yeah.
My mom went into labor because of the low pressure system that came through. I was actually a week and a half early, which is a good thing because I was just shy of 9 pounds.
Wow.
And I didn't know that was heavy. And other people used to be. I was thinking, okay, that's what a premature baby is. So when other people would be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, person or friend, they had a baby and it was 10 pounds, and I was like, yeah, it's a good weight. It's a good weight
Yeah.
for a kid.
No, it's huge.
Totally clueless
Mhm.
because how big I was. But anyways, during a hurricane, and as you know, hurricanes can help create tornadoes because of the storm systems that come through
Right.
the storm fronts. Um, I learned I learned a lot of cool things about tornadoes this week. I was showing you this before the chat, but this is I went through the National Weather Service Storm Spotter um, class, and meteorologist came through and taught us how to be storm spotters, and gave us these guides and the videos. It was a 2 hour long thing, and like you learn so much. I didn't even know some of this stuff, so I want to share as much as I can through YouTube and to my squadron. That I learned. Um, what were some of the things that you had learned about tornadoes?
Well, yeah, I want to first off make a plug. I've already plugged this with budget. Um, if you've watched my channel, you probably know that I am a ham radio operator, and as far as preparedness goes, I think that it's something that anyone who is a prepper should participate in, and especially for weather preparedness. Uh, in my area, and if you're not at all familiar with ham radio, this will be a little bit Greek, but um, the 2-meter repeater, and that's a wavelength, that's a specific frequency repeater in my area, is what is used for the weather spotters, and it's actually, most ham radio operators are trained National Weather Service weather spotters. And so that's where, if you're watching the news during a storm, that's where the weatherman's getting his information. He has a guy listening to the local ham radio, whatever their designated frequency is, and he has somebody listening to them, and that's how they're relaying their information. So I can tell you from personal experience that I can turn on my ham radio and I know what is happening, where the storm is, what's going on, a good 2 to 5 minutes before the meteorologist tells you on the air. Because you're talking about real life, boots on the ground, not depending on some radar. You've got people who are trained, who are watching for these storms, and you're hearing live reports. So
Mm-hmm.
it's invaluable. It really is. But that's my shameless plug for ham radio, because I think it's something that any prepper should be involved in. And yes, Budget and I are both a little bit distracted right now because we're trying to get Ted in.
Yeah, he's going to be talking about hurricanes for y'all who are in that kind of danger area. I resent him the link. Hopefully this one works. But yeah, ham radios are great. Some of the stories that you hear, and actually even one of the videos I was watching, this guy goes outside and he's he's got his little cell phone camera and he's watching this tornado is in front of his house. Because
Uh-huh.
um, usually tornadoes, pretty much all the time, are on the trailing end of the big uh, mesocyclone thunderstorm.
Right.
It's thunderstorm that comes through all the rain and all the bad stuff, the hail and all the heavy, the cold downdraft is in the front, and then in the back is where that warm updraft is, where whatever combines with the cold air, the cold air brings the tornado down, right? Um, but there's a gap. There's a gap between the very back and the bad weather. So he walks out and he's like, "Oh, yeah, it's nice weather. Oh, tornado!" and and he's like, "Oh my gosh! Oh, just taking it in. Tornadoes move fast. 70
Right.
miles per hour. Some of them." And he's like, "Oh, I gotta go." There's no tornado sirens going off at all.
Really? Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, you just can't hear it." No, or maybe they're just too far away. The microphone's not picking them up. Goes downstairs, tornado hits, destroys his home, goes back up, shows the footage of what happened. Tornado sirens are going off. Yep,
Yeah.
tornadoes and sirens
Well,
are going off, and you can't count on those things. The warnings happen when a tornado is spotted, or
right.
they look on the radar and they're like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure this is a tornado. Do you think it's a
Right.
tornado?" "I'm pretty sure it's a tornado." But aside from that, I mean, it's just watches.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's something that for years, since I've grown up and always been in a tornado-prone alley, for years a warning was only issued if a train spotter spotted one. Well, in the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, they've gotten to where they will issue a warning based on a Doppler radar signature. Um, I almost wish that there was a third category because at least in my area, when it's a tornado watch, from late March through early June, it's a 50-50 shot we're under a tornado watch. We're always under a tornado watch. So you don't even pay attention to it really.
you don't even,
Um,
mm,
but I do wish there was some distinction between a radar spotted tornado and a train spotter spotted tornado because I know that they've come a long way, but the radar signatures are not as accurate as boots on the ground spotting it.
it
I know in
depending on
my
the
area we've
spotter,
had
but
them
yeah,
issued based on radar signature. Well, yes, true. But I know in my area we've had them issued based on radar signature, and come to find out it wasn't.
yeah, yeah,
It
they were
was
like that
just
in Florida too.
that hook signature.
Yeah, I actually have it in
But we
here.
got people in the chat box saying, um, our who was the expert survival tips from Romania was talking about it. They don't get tornadoes, but they do get earthquakes. Had to repair his home 3 times this month. And
Wow.
longtime friend of the group, the Daily Shooter. Of course, he's in uh, California, and of course, they have their earthquakes there too. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know anything about earthquake preparedness, and other than the fact that that's one of the few that they really seem to push the 72-hour kits and things like that. Um, and then K-bar users stuck in his yard.
Earth. I haven't, just because I've never lived in an earthquake-prone area. I haven't done too much research. I know they changed their policy on standing under doorways. They no longer recommend that in
Oh, have
earthquakes.
they changed that?
Yes, they have. Um, Now it's just get underneath, table, for falling debris kind of stuff.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, when it comes to other countries and stuff, um, this is something that I recently learned. America is the #1 country of weather-related natural disasters.
Really?
Beat out all other countries. Yeah. I'm
Interesting.
assuming that is because, I'm assuming it's because we got cold on the top, Canada, and then the Mexico hot, and it
Right.
comes together. That's what I'm assuming. But yeah,
Makes
I
sense.
read
And a
that.
lot of land mass too. So, and I guess you look at other large landmass areas. The former Soviet Union, they may have a lot of landmass, but there's lots of uninhabited areas, and probably the same with China. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense that we would be.
Well, even with just the I don't know if it impacts more. I'm pretty sure we just get hit with more from my
Yeah,
understanding.
probably so.
Another thing that I wanted to mention, other than weather-related disasters, and we can talk more about them, obviously. But before I forget, I wanted to mention about fires. It's said, well, it's not. It's said. It's just a fact. Most people, 80% of Americans, don't realize that home fires are the single most common disaster across the nation. This is the American Red Cross, so referring to America. So it also, it's on here somewhere. I don't know if I can read this. This will just be paraphrased if I can't see it. But it's more fires happen than any other disaster combined.
Wow.
So that's something to realize. And then the one last big fact is the American Red Cross, which is this is part of the one of the things that I do to respond to disasters with the fire department and stuff. The American Red Cross responded to more than 74,000 disasters in communities across the United States last year, and 93% of those were fire-related.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's something to think about. Like I mentioned before in a past video, and I think the past time we chatted, if you're a prepper and you're not, yay, Ted's here.
Hey, Ted's here.
I don't know what happened.
But let me just finish my thought. If you're a prepper though, and you're not prepared for fire, then you're not prepared for something that is more common than all other disasters combined. I just want to throw that out there because I don't think a lot of people realize that. But anyways, Ted is here. Ted, do you want to talk and introduce yourself and things of that nature?
I'm Ted. I'm one of the primaries on the AMFAW channel. Excuse me if I'm a little distracted. My blood pressure's up. That's it. That's all I do. I'm just a fat guy that wastes his time on the internet.
Hey,
You're a lot more honest than I am.
watch it now. You're stepping on toes.
All my friends are wide.
There you go.
Well,
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
Budget, give that stat that you were telling me about the what was it, senior citizens and children?
Yes, one of the things I also wanted to kind of touch on was to prepare your children or other family members for disasters. And one of the stats that I pulled up, it says right here actually, this is fire related still. Children under 5 and adults over 65 are more than twice as likely to die in a home fire than the rest of the United States population, which kind of is what I'm trying to say. We need to prepare not just ourselves, because if you're just living by yourself, or just you and your significant other, I mean, you can kind of figure things out more or less. You probably talked about where things are and stuff. But if you have children and you've never talked to them about this kind of stuff, other than maybe their drills at school, that's all they know about, then that's something that should probably be addressed. So what about y'all? What do you think about that? Y'all agree?
I think, and actually the Jarhead 6 did a video on rally points today, and he even mentioned fire.
Nice.
You know, having a plan is a big part. Having a rally point, knowing where where everybody's going to be egressing, at least primary and secondary, tertiary would be even better. But
Yes.
knowing where everyone will be egressing and what your rally point is. There's a couple of videos from friends of the AMFAW family here. Jayhawk did one recently on, he's on a third floor where he lives, and so he has a grappling hook set up with a rope to escape should his primary entrance exit be blocked. JJ at Reality Survival did a video on a window ladder that is just a chain ladder that deploys out a window. So, great for, a lot of houses now, bottom story is the living space and all the bedrooms are upstairs. And so, that's something to think about. What if, most houses don't have two stairways? So what if your stairwell is engulfed in flames? What is your mode of egress at that point?
Yeah, you should always have two exits, and I teach you that in school. You have two different ways. For me, I have a two-story home as well. So if for some reason that exit was cut out, we would, and we haven't practiced this yet. We're not as good as preppers as we should be, but this is going to be, you're going to understand why we haven't practiced this yet, knowing that we live in a neighborhood that's kind of picky about doing craziness. But we would open our window here in our bedroom, and then we would crawl out. It's only 2 stories, and then we would hang off the roof, lower ourselves down body length, and then drop from there.
Right.
Like I say, we're going to practice this a lot because people will be like, "What the heck is wrong with these people?" There they go again, out their bedroom window every
crazy preppers.
Yeah. I'm going to go over there, if something ever happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should, and then like the meetup places that's right on point. That's what the organizations like the Red Cross teach as well. You should have a meetup place. If it's a fire, you should have a meetup place outside your home. If it's a more widespread disaster, a storm comes through or something like that, or earthquake or something, you should have a meetup place outside of your neighborhood. So have it be like a friend's home that you visit frequent or whatever.
Right.
Is a good idea. And then I like to go further and think of worst case scenario and think of a place like in a nearby city as well. I have a hotel, kind of for us pet friendly hotel, as you've seen from my videos. My cat's always walking through. But I have, I'm not gonna show you the other side of this because it has the numbers on it and stuff. But I made an emergency quick reference guide. And this is for, I have one in my fridge and then one in each little bag. But I'm also making these. I have little blank spaces too because other people in my work center was like, "What is that you have there?" And I was like, "Oh, I have the emergency stuff. I have poison control here. I have this. I have the radio station to tune to in case something happens, and I have the first sergeant's number, and I have all these numbers, etc. And I can go over them if y'all want. But people were like, print me out one of those. So I was like, okay, well,
Right.
I better make a default one that everyone, the information everyone wants, and have little blanks so that people
Right.
can fill in, for their car insurance or for the hotel. I have a local taxi on there, just the local police department and just a bunch of stuff that I got from the resources that you can find these kind of emergency reference guides, or pretty much if you can Google it. But also, I have links from all the sources that I use, that I draw from the knowledge base. in the description box as well. But Ted, did you want to share any of the information? You said that you've been reading a lot about hurricanes. Did you want to share any?
Yeah, as far as fires go at my house, we've kind of got the survival of the fittest, every man for himself kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's good. We have a mutual agreement that if I catch any of the kids on fire, I will stomp them out before I leave. And
on the way out.
Yeah, my wife, that's why I married a small woman, because I can throw her out of a window and get out myself. And
that would help her.
Yeah, well, yeah, it probably wouldn't help me, because I still would probably be a fire-related casualty if I threw her out of a window.
Yeah.
But I just looked at some interesting facts today on hurricanes, because as you guys have seen on some of my older videos, that 51% of the American population lives in a coastal area. By numbers. Now, I'm not talking about by landmass, but I'm talking about, most of us, cluster in those coastal areas. And when you look at New Orleans, New York City, Los Angeles, Seattle, Atlanta, Atlanta's inland, I'm sorry, all the Florida cities, they're all coastal cities. So bear in mind that half of us are going to face some sort of ocean-related storm in our lifetime. The average forward speed of a hurricane is 20 miles an hour. So when they start calling these things out, the problem is the models aren't real scientific, and the spaghetti maps they call them, and they will show. Well, we know we have a hurricane coming off the Antilles, off of the African Antilles, weeks before it gets here, and at 20 miles an hour, that gives you plenty of time to prepare, and that puts an old adage in mind that he who hesitates is lost. So we all know that prepping is an evergreen process. You're never going to be done with your preps, because when you're getting done with this part, this has hit its shelf life, and you're going to have to replace that and kind of start working forward again. It's not just a procedure. It's actually going to be a lifestyle. It's going to be one of those things that you are going to have to be engaged in and serious about. And look, I'm the oldest cat on this panel right now, so I need to get somebody younger than me, my sons who are now approaching their 30s, to adopt that same mindset, because when I get too old, I'm going to be that guy they're going to have to take care of in the future. So I want them to have their head in the game and make sure that they've got my rheumatism medicine when we bug out, to last me for a matter of weeks sometimes. So the average speed of the storm is 20 miles an hour. Now, they upgrade them from a tropical storm to a hurricane when the maximum sustained winds are 74 miles an hour. It becomes a Cat 1. Now we know these things are fed by warm water. Ironically, with half of America's population living on a coast, storm surge kills more people than the actual event. That water coming inland ahead of a storm will kill more people than the actual storm itself. And I saw in the days after Katrina, as one of those responders that went into some of these ground zero neighborhoods, that water came in so fast that the houses didn't have time to fill up, that the cars didn't have time to fill up. It just came in like a big giant wave. It just rolled in and it rolled out. And I remember we went into one neighborhood. There was a dog tied up behind a house, soaked in oil, and that's why we were there. We were doing a crude oil spill response. This dog had suffered from that crude oil floating on the water, but there was a car on the house next door, and this dog's chain was only about 8.5, 10 feet long. So that storm surge was deeper than that dog's chain, but somehow he was still alive. So that tells me that event came through there so fast he didn't have time to drown. And that made sense that the cars would float on top of the roof, because they didn't have time to fill up with water. They popped up like a cork, and the wave went out, and wherever they were at when the wave went down, that's where they sat. To give you some historical data, as early as 1970, there were 300,000 people killed by one storm in Pakistan. That's it's a third of a million people killed, storm-related casualty, one storm. And ironically, the response to that storm was so poor that Bangladesh, that little part of what used to be Pakistan, broke away, formed their own government because they didn't want to be, because of their response to that storm. Bangladesh became its own country. It's the only country ever to become, it came into existence as a result of a hurricane. Make sure that when you leave, that you leave early. Now, if you wait, and I see this happen all the time, I see people, hedge. You have to make up your mind. When it hits Cat 3, we're leaving. So, but that doesn't mean wait for Cat 3 to start prepping, because when you fill your cars up with gas, you're still going to burn that gas. When you put extra food in your house, you're still going to eat that food. So you're just going to go to the grocery store. That's what you're doing. If you have got your head in the game. Now, my wife and I, like I said, we're in a substantial structure here. Our house is pretty significant, and we're at about 8 foot sea level here, in South Louisiana, which doesn't sound a lot to you, but I'm inland far, and I'm probably about 30 miles from open water. Scout Gunner lives right around the corner from me, and he's kind of in the same neighborhood. He's actually within about I'd say realistically about 200 yards from a waterway, a major waterway too, the intercoastal waterway here. And so he has that. Believe it or not, that waterway is a protection zone from hurricanes because it runs east and west inland over there, and it's going to divert a lot of that water from the Gulf. So it's a good thing he lives that close to that waterway. But you want to evac early if you're going to evac. If it looks like it's going to strengthen when it gets to and you have to have that drop dead date. If it's a Cat 3 on Thursday, and it looks like it's going to make landfall within 200 miles of us in either direction, we're going to leave. The wife and I are staying here, just short of a Cat 5. We're staying right here. If we don't get another Katrina, we're going to be right here because this is old stuff to us. Now, if I had young children at home, I would make that decision for them. I would absolutely, if I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to make it on the side of caution. I'd rather leave and not have my children hurt than stay here and roll the dice on their behalf. They're not able to make those decisions for themselves, so you have to do it. But if you wait until evac traffic hits, you might as well stay home. Because that tank of gas that could get you 300 miles under normal circumstances is now going to be cut in half. Because you're going to be sitting in traffic running at AC in June, July, August in one of these coastal cities where the humidity's 80, 90%, and you're not going anywhere. And you're going to sit there and you're going to burn that gas in place, and you have diminished the range of your vehicle. And if you think you're going to pull into the next gas station and get gas, well, guess what, Slick? They were out of gas 3 hours ago. You're stuck. So your best bet then would be to shelter in place. And if you have a substantial structure, rather than get caught on the road or be broke down and at the mercy of every predator on the highway, your best bet just be to flip it around and go back home.
Yeah, I remember. Yep, go ahead.
Just remember when you go that you're going to take enough food, water, and medications for all your family, and I would say for at least 2 weeks. That's what I'm recommending. You better take enough meds for grandma's heart and dad's high blood pressure and everything else. You better have that with you for 2 weeks because there are folks that got displaced by Hurricane Katrina in 2005 that are not home yet because they don't have a home to come home to. That city's still only about 80%, and those neighborhoods on the east side of New Orleans, they look like a bomb went off over there. I mean, it just is what it is. They just left and says, well, there's nothing to come back to. If FEMA's not going to pay to rebuild my house,
right?
Then I'm not coming. Well, guess what?
Hey, Ted, do me a favor. Since you lived Katrina, you came in on the tail end of my ham radio plug. And I can tell people from experience here when the tornadoes came through here in 2011, you couldn't even get a text message through.
I didn't hear my wife's voice for 6 weeks. There was no cell phone towers. We were in the hot zone, so to come out, we would have to decontaminate, and we'd have to go through all these checkpoints and roadblocks to get out. And that's not what we were about. That's not the mission we had at the time. The mission we had was to get in there and get that crude oil, prevent it from going into other waterways, from migrating out, isolating the area, keeping people out. That's what we were there for. There about 5, 6 days after the event, when we started getting, you could get sporadic text messages out, but you'd send it, and it may be in queue for 30 minutes before it finally popped up on the other end. You're not going to 911 a text message when it's like that, because everybody's texting, and those towers can only hold so much data. And so, if you can get an alternate communication system in place, and that's where the rally point comes in. That's where those ham radios and CBs, because that's how we communicated. Within my group, we were communicating by CB radio, and we went down on a little sub channel or the little FMRS radios. We were communicating with those, and they worked perfect for us because you didn't need a repeater to use them. We got a text out here and there to the wife and to let her know I was okay and alive, and of course she wasn't even worried about it. I mean, she knew I was I could cannibalize my crew. It is what it is. I will tell you though, after Katrina, I did some research on this morning. Katrina was the first largest surface-wise and the third strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in the U.S. Number 3.
Is Andrew number 1?
I didn't look up the top 10. I just knew that's where Katrina shook out. $81 billion in damage.
Wow.
There was 1,836 dead fatalities from that storm, and there are 705 people to this day that are unaccounted for.
Wow.
There are 705 bodies out there in the Gulf of Mexico somewhere whose family members are wondering what happened to them. And again, it all comes down to preparation. Do I think those were needless casualties? Absolutely. I remember the mayor of New Orleans at the time, our newest criminal, Ray Nagin, was on TV all but begging folks to bug out. Look, we're going to send the buses around. There won't be any bus, charge. Just get on the bus. We're going to take you to shelter. We're going to take you to shelter. We're going to take you to shelter. And they stayed, and they stayed, and they stayed, and the roads were choked, and crime was through the roof before the event ever got here. I mean, it was just people just. But when you start thinking about how quickly human society degrades when the light switch doesn't work anymore, when the refrigerator and the light switch and all those little things that we as a species, not as a society but as a species, have just taken for granted. We take for granted when we walk in the house we're going to flip that switch and those lights are going to come on. And when they don't, well, the bad guys come out in the dark, folks. They just do. And when people get desperate, it doesn't take much of a transition to go from law-abiding citizen to full-blown criminal. And you don't have to look very far on YouTube to find people who says, well, I don't need to lay in food and water because I've got ammo and I can take what I want. And there are plenty of folks that have that same mindset. And
I get that comment a lot.
Well, where I come from, in a gunfight, bullets go both ways, and that's how I see it. So you may not be better prepared than me, but if you're going to come to this house with ill intent in your heart, you better be better trained than me. That's all I can say. You better be better trained, or you better have a rabbit's foot in your pocket, because slick, when you show up here with a gun, there's going to be a gunfight, and I'm going to go down the street there and get my Bud Scout gunner, and we're going to set up a perimeter on this place, Vietnam style, and it's going to be the Wild West around here.
Hey, Ted, just to tell you, you got a vote of confidence from the EMT on your med quote there.
What was that on the
taking the 2 weeks?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Skinny Medic said spot on there.
Yeah.
Awesome. He knows a lot too. to talk about, to piggyback on a couple of the things that you mentioned, Ted, you were talking about how he was asking everyone to bug out. One of the things that we learned in my Storm Spotter class is actually on the first page, page 1, paragraph 1. Let me just read this whole thing. This is not too long. It says, the United States is the most severe weather-prone country in the world. Each year, people in this country cope with an average of 10,000 thunderstorms, 5,000 floods, 1,200 tornadoes, and 2 landfalling hurricanes. Approximately 90% of all presidentially declared disasters are weather-related, causing around 500 deaths each year and nearly $14 billion in damage. But also, you were talking about how, what you should include in your kit, like what Skinny Mate was talking about, 2 weeks. That's right on. It's also it's recommended. Once again, the Red Cross, which is my source for most of my knowledge, because I work with them. They recommend that if you're going to, and these are at least figures, okay? If you're going to stay in place, if it's a disaster that you, for whatever reason, you lose power or something, and you're able to stay in your house, at least 2 weeks. Food and water, medical supplies, and then flashlights, and the lists are in the description box, the different sources that I got these lists from. But you can Google if you want other ideas, or YouTube. But 2 weeks if you're going to stay in place. If you're going to be bugging out, sure, 2 weeks also great, but at least 3 days, 72 hours, so that you can get somewhere else, so that you have enough, supplies and other stuff, until you get somewhere else. Now, like you were saying, just because the Red Cross says, this doesn't mean that you should bug out at the last minute. That's right on. I always keep, and I said this before, and I have a video on the AMFAW channel talking about this, at least a half a tank of gas in my car at all time, just in case something happens. I'm not paranoid. I live in Tornado Alley. And like we teach the little kids in the Red Cross course that I'm now an instructor of. One of the things we have is this big map, and it's like, okay, so where are we on this map? We're right here. Okay, so this section is colored this color. So that means that our storms are these. We look at the legend are here. And then it has California, and this section has this color, and then the other color. The whole country has different shades of color. So no matter where you are in the United States, you are probably going to get hit with something. So that's the great thing about this country, is everything's free, including the weather. You don't know what to expect. So no matter where you are, you need to be prepared. And you were saying 51% of Americans are at the coast. When you started saying that, I was nodding my head, because I thought you were talking about a different figure, which is 51% of Americans are actually impacted by an emergency requiring first aid, or a disaster requiring evacuation that you can't return home to, or your power is out for 72 hours. 51%. And at first I was like, I don't know. I know I've experienced this, but I don't know if other people. But my coworkers, talking with them, I was like, oh yeah, guess what I just learned. And then people are just telling me all their different stories about how they had to evacuate, or how they lost power for a long time, and this, that, and the other. And a lot of these people are like, and because of that, only 1 out of 10 households, like I said, are prepared for disaster or emergency. So because of that, a lot of people are like, and now I have this, that, and the other, and water, and that reminds me, I need to stock up on flashlights. But then there's also that person who's just like, yeah, I just don't have. We're actually out of food right now. Yeah, we should. Something happened to me. I guess whatever. I don't know what would happen. And I'm thinking, you're a mom. You have a little girl. You have a little 2-year-old. She just hit 2 today, actually. Like, really? Like, all these other parents are prepared because they have a kid, and there's nothing against her as a mother or whatever. I just think she just never thought about it, and that goes along with a lot of America. We don't, we turn on the TV and we're like, oh, Dancing with the Stars. Not everyone turns to, not everybody watches the channels that are. This is the American Red Cross reminding you that fire is a very possible. It's not a lot of shows like that.
Well, I do want to remind folks before we close out tonight about your evacuation plan. Now, when you're planning your evacuation from your home for an earthquake, wildfire, tornado, earthquake, hurricane, whatever it is, civil disobedience. Let's leave civil disobedience out of it, and let's go with these act of God natural disasters. When you're planning your route, you need to be very, very aware of river crossings. Is that bridge going to be choked up? Am I going to be able to get across it? Because I'm on one side of the Mississippi River, and where I'm bugging out to is on the other side of the Mississippi River. You're not swimming that ditch, folks. That's a big puddle. But not only that, but I live down here on the Gulf Coast, and a lot of us, live along the coast. And you know what else is along the coast? Every refinery, in America has a footprint down here. And is your evacuation route going to take you near one of those refineries? Because when one of those refineries processes is compromised, they explode, and they explode violently and with huge force and lots of shrapnel. So, yeah. You got to bear that in mind. And then one more thing you need to remember too is, where's the nuclear power plant at? And let's keep Fukushima in mind here. When that tsunami hit over there, they're still dealing with that. They still have millions and millions and millions of gallons of radioactive water that they can't get rid of right now. So they're storing it on site. And you got to remember these things when you're trying to find safe harbor for your family. That safe harbor includes, if you're on foot, and you've got a real or imagined nuclear power plant meltdown between you and your destination, you need to know which way the prevailing winds blow. So you need to get upwind of that thing, so you're not going to become a victim of it 20 years from now from leukemia and cancer, because these things are not only acute, which means they happen right now in huge numbers, but they're chronic. They will have a long-term effect. Katrina is still impacting the economy on the Gulf Coast. Here we are 9 years later, and it still has a significant impact on this area. And economically, it has an impact because I went to a meeting in the days after Katrina when we were only about 20% back at the Transportation Club on top of one of the buildings in New Orleans. And they had a professor that came from one of these big colleges out in California, and the fellow was clearly a Democrat, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but he was, advocating the use.
Are you a Seinfeld fan?
He was advocating the use of illegal workers. These folks that come up from Mexico and El Salvador, they were flooding into New Orleans because there was jobs and nobody was asking any questions about them, because they were trying to get this place cleaned up. And he made the comment, and this thing sticks to me to this day, that they're doing jobs that nobody else wants to do, and that the average age of a worker in New Orleans, Louisiana at that time was about $25,000 a year. Well, my comment, and I said this in front of a room full of very important people, that they're not doing jobs that people don't want to do. They're doing jobs that people don't want to do for the wages you're willing to pay them to do that job. You want to help this economy out, you pay those people what they're worth. When they're out there dripping sweat in the sun all day long, with their back into it, you got the nerve to pay them $8 an hour? You know what I'm talking about? When they're doing some good for that's right. Why, those folks don't want to come here and work, because there's no money in it. You know who makes the money? Those carpetbaggers that come up from the north, that come down from the north, those predator roofers and these house leveling people and all those folks that come down here, to make that quick buck, skin us up, stick the federal government with the bill, and leave. And I don't know. I'm getting on a soapbox, and I'm sorry. So, and
So every time you talk, I learn something.
I'm old and preachy, so sorry.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you can learn a lot from your elders, Budget.
It's true. It's true. Um, one of the things that you were mentioning earlier, Ted, was about how when you were in Katrina, responding to that, how long it took before you could actually make a cell phone call. It's recommended, from my research, I found this out, that if a disaster is going on or whatever, try to text as much as possible, because those. I used to work for a cell phone company for 3.5 years actually. It was Nextel that then became Sprint. So I know a little bit about cellular towers, and it's a lot harder to make cell phone calls, in a disaster, and because one of the reasons is because the police departments, they have priority when it comes to making and responding to those types of calls. So 911 calls are going to kick off any other calls that are on there, but also, if you call an out-of-state person, it's recommended. You've probably heard of out-of-state emergency contact kind of stuff. It's recommended that you call someone that's out of state, like a relative or whatever, and you let them know how you're doing and stuff. And if anyone else calls, what your situation is, and that you're okay, kind of stuff. So that way, your significant other or your child or other family members, they all know, oh, something's happening in X city. Let me call aunt whatever and see if she's heard from a Budget Bug Out or his wife or whatever.
That brings a very good point around Budget. How many of you have an ICE card in your wallet and you're on your person? That ICE stands for in case of emergency. If you are a storm-related casualty, you're a victim. Those first responders, first of all, need to know your blood type. That's why every American soldier, American serviceman has that on their dog tags, because that's going to save time, and the time may save your life in that golden hour. But, how about a contact number, address, name, and phone number of those people that they need to get a hold of you? Because my wife may have medical history on me that, hey, he's allergic to, and I'm not, but, if you were allergic to penicillin, they don't know that. They have to go through trial and error. Right. What if you are diabetic? They need to know those things, so they don't give you a glucose, hang a glucose bag on you and start, killing you from insulin shock. So
right.
I wanted to share something with you too before we left. Look, I made one of those really cool little chapstick candles, and
yes, nice.
from a Q-tip, and you take the Q-tip and you smear some of the chapstick into the Q-tip cotton. You make a wick out of it, and then you've got a candle that will actually burn for hours.
Nice.
Out of a tube of chapstick. And when you want to put it out, you just put the lid.
Put it in gasoline.
Yeah, you did.
No.
Don't show that to your kids, or you will have to go through the fire drill.
Yeah.
When they're doing this, you hear the bathroom cabinet open up, and you see them walking down to their bedroom with a bag of cotton balls. You better go check on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worry about some of the things that are out there on.
They're doing this. And have a bag of cotton balls, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently went to a vending thing. Yeah, I guess we're running kind of late. But I just want to talk about the chapstick thing. I don't like spending money on things if I can avoid it. Hence the name, A Budget Bug Out. But I was at a vendor thing, and there is all tactical kind of people. They're at the base and saying, oh, buy these boots or whatever. But one of them had chapstick, and I was talking to her for a while, and I was like, when's he going to offer me the chapstick? Because I don't want to take my chapstick and then, do that and to show someone or put on the AMFAW channel or whatever. Because I was like, oh, and offered. I mean, I just kept talking to him over and over, and then finally started walking away, and I was like, can I get one of those chapsticks? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, here you go. Because I wanted to try that too.
Free chapstick is always awesome. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you want to wrap up, Ted, with what you were mentioning in the...
Yeah. So what we're going to do on the AMFAW channel on this chat every week is we're going to name a Warrior of the Week. And I want all you folks in the chat box right now to play along with this because it's going to be a lot of fun and you can really help somebody. So what the Warrior of the Week is we name a channel, small channel, and then we want all you guys to go sub that channel, but even more importantly than that, we want you to put a random comment that we're going to come up with every week onto his channel. On any of his videos, just go in there, or their videos, and just go put this comment. So the comment of the week is, I think I may be addicted to Pop-Tarts. All right? And we want you to go to Shadow Sniper, SHDWSNPR, Shadow Sniper. He's one of our little group there. So if you go and look in any of our G Plus accounts, you're going to see where we tag on there. He's not on the chat, so he doesn't know this is coming. So I want you all to go over there and blitz him, and just on any of his videos, just start lighting him up with the words, I think I may be addicted to Pop-Tarts.
Oh, that's
and he
funny.
actually put out a video today.
Oh, cool. Put it on that video.
Shadow Sniper. And if you have trouble finding it, go to the Alabama Owens channel, and he will have a he interacts with them a lot. So
I'll give you a link to his latest video.
Yeah. And so I think I may be addicted to Pop-Tarts on Shadow Sniper. And next week it's going to be mayonnaise is always better with fresh eggs. Some crazy random comment that we're going to put in somebody, and we're going to blitz them every week with these crazy random comments. It's going to be a lot of fun. So play along.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Warrior of the Week. I like that. That's funny. Okay, well, did you all want to, I guess we'll go back to you, Ted, because Alabama Owens is working on something. Did you want to kind of finish off and talk about anything upcoming?
Yep, so the AMFAW channel has hit 1,000, and we've got this epic prize pack going on. And the cool part about the prize pack is I am staggered by the amount of folks that's willing to donate to this thing. My mailbox is going to get lit up here later on in the week, and the UPS man's going to know who I am by the end of this week, because, I mean, we've had folks as far away as Greece. Thank you, Mountain Man. Donate to this deal, even though he has no chance of winning because he's not inside the continental U.S. He's donating to it because he believes in the cause. And so Fire Mountain Outdoors, and I can't even remember all of them. I mean, D. Will Hoyt, Kentucky Guns and Fun, and I look, and if I'm forgetting you, I'm sorry. We will do a video letting everybody know who you are that donated.
K-Bar user, I believe.
Yeah, I think K-Bar, I don't know if he's donated or not, but we have a lot of folks that have.
Interested, I know.
Yeah, so
Van Prepper is.
Yep. So yep, we'll do a video with all the when the swag comes in from their different channels. We'll do an update video and kind of show you the prize package that is growing. I know that there's already been another pistol grip donated that I already have in my possession, and a forward pistol grip, for an AR has been donated on it too. We've got the hand guards. We've got everything short of the barrel, and who knows, a barrel may very well turn up by the end of this thing. So that's all we're really waiting for. The only thing missing on this AR build is the barrel. So.
Very cool. All right, Alabama Owens, same thing. Anything coming up? I know.
Just be sure and get in on the contest. Any of the AMFAW administrators, the video is there with the instructions. If you're on Facebook, it's super easy. If you're not on Facebook, we've got a link for you too. So don't think that just because you don't do Facebook, you're left out.
What was the entry count at this point? roughly?
I haven't checked in a couple of days, but it was over 100 yesterday.
Since
cool.
Saturday. Since Saturday,
Yeah.
4 days.
Nice.
But be watching. Like I said, I'm gonna have some flashlight reviews.
And he's gone.
I'm back. I've hit my 1 hour limit on my internet, I think.
You have to go out there. You have to go out there and pump the handle a few more times.
Yeah, exactly. Got a couple of flashlight reviews coming very shortly, and some gear reviews, some pretty cool gear that I've gotten that I'm going to be doing some reviews on, so be watching for that. Hopefully we'll be able to get most of those out in the next week or two.
Very cool. And as for me, let's see here. The things I got going on, I got, in addition to the AMFAW giveaway that's going on, that's my most recent video. So like Alabama Owens was saying, you check any of us out. I put links for all of our channels in the description box. So you can check any of our videos out to see how you can enter that giveaway. But I also have another giveaway going on as well. That's still open for a couple more weeks, and I still haven't announced the winner for the previous giveaway. That was, I guess, a couple weeks ago now, because I've just been so busy. I've been doing different trainings. I now I was mentioning this earlier in the chat, but I'm now a storm spotter with the National Weather Service. Did that training this week. I'm now an instructor for a different course with the Red Cross for children, grades 3 to 5. I want to make a video, I wish I could, about this new course that the Red Cross is teaching, but I'm just not able to because it's still in the pilot phase. They don't want. I asked if I can release it through social media, and then they said no. But I might figure out ways to try to kind of say some of the same things that the Red Cross is training, but just find a different way of saying it without actually saying the detailed information, such as the partner, the company that's partnering with them and such. But so I got that going on, and now I'm also becoming more disaster oriented because in addition to those things, I'm now my unit's disaster, well, I guess emergency management representative on one of those. I'm the alternate for that, so I'm getting lots of training. Is kind of my point that I'm making, and I'm going to tell y'all as best as I can this information as I learn it. There's so much of it, so I'm trying to figure out good ways of putting it out there. This weekend, the host every weekend of whoever the host is of the AMFAW channel always puts content for that following weekend, so be looking out for that stuff this weekend as well on the AMFAW channel. Anyways, do y'all have anything else before I close this out?
I think I may be addicted to Pop-Tarts.
Yes.
We got 3 on his most recent video already.
That's fine.
Yes, that's great. I'm going to do that after we're done here too.
Yeah, me too.
But anyways, I hope y'all were able to learn something. Every time that I kind of host, we do something more preparedness minded. So I learn a lot from y'all whenever y'all talk about guns and things of that nature, more tactical types of stuff. So it's great to hear what y'all know about this subject as well. So hopefully we're able to share. Hopefully you learn from other people in the chat as well as they share their expertise as well. So anyways, with that said, thank y'all for watching. And I'm Budget Bug Out, and all my friends are warriors. See y'all later.
Good night, folks.